So in this video, I thought we'd talk about Vaccaria hispanica, or some people call it Saponaria. And in this particular one, we're going to talk about the variety Pink Beauty. And we're going to talk about how you can sow this in January so that you can have an early flowering crop in your borders, or as a cut flower if that's what you're doing, in late spring, early summer. And then you can succession sow it also throughout the summer. Before I get into that, don't forget to check out my website. I keep forgetting to advertise my website, so please take a look at my website. I've got some new products, colouring books. I am going to get some gardening books to you. I'm still working on those, cottage gardening, cut flowers, etc. So you will find that the garden shop is still a little bit empty, but I am getting there. And as I've started painting again, I'll also be putting some of my original art on here too. Take a look at the website anyway, and you'll find my blog on there where I'll give you even more information about this plant. All right, let's get back to the video. So Saponaria Pink Beauty, or Vaccaria hispanica. So why do I love this flower? Well, again, this is another one, a bit like I did in my previous video about the Babascum, and that was a fairly new cottage garden flower to me, and so is the Saponaria. And what I absolutely loved about the Saponaria was I grew that in the winter sowing method for the first time. So in other words, I grew it in the bottles, as I say, and you can start them now in January. They'll be absolutely fine. And I had then a crop just as my forget-me-nots were going past their best. The Saponaria started to really come on. Now, when they first started to grow, I remember thinking, these are just rubbish. They seemed like they were just long, leggy stalks of really sparse leaves. And then they just, as the weather turned, warmer, they just started to thicken up, branch out. And before I knew it, I had this kind of airy, beautiful crop of pink flowers sort of weaving between the forget-me-nots. And, it just looked absolutely stunning. And then as the forget-me-nots went over, you didn't notice so much that kind of, we're always that change of border is really difficult. When you get things, you just don't want to pull them up yet. They're not quite gone, but they're not looking their best. And then if you pull them up, what you're going to replace them with. I found this to be a beautiful, seamless transition from the sort of the tulips, the forget-me-nots, etc., into that more cottagey, billowy, summery, early summer border. They flower around the same time as early roses, alliums, larkspur, ranunculus. Because I grew it and it came on around the same time as my forget-me-nots, I really was then disappointed when it kind of died out and I didn't have another flush. So last year, I also sowed some for overwintering in my polytunnel, and they took off really well. We had a warm autumn. They did really well. They put on a lot of growth, and then I was able to move them into the greenhouse, and so far so good. They are still overwintering in the greenhouse, so they may even come on a bit sooner than my other ones, but than my ones last year, which came on just as the forget-me-nots were going over. So the idea being that I could have some come on earlier and then some come on later. So I'm also going to succession sow with some winter sowing now. So I don't know, because I've never staggered them like this before. I don't know whether the winter sowing ones will catch up with the overwinter ones. I doubt it, actually. So we'll see how that works out. And then, depending on how my borders look and how it's all coming together, I may even sow another set in the spring so that I have them continuing throughout the summer, because they're a really beautiful flower. They're the sort of flower actually that you could grow the verbascum through, because they're very airy flowers. They're beautiful filler flowers if you want them for cut flowers. They're absolutely stunning. They're like jewels. They almost like sparkle. And they do fill up the space, but because they're airy, you could also grow things through them. They don't sort of block out the light or anything like that. So I would recommend, definitely, if you haven't grown them before, here in the UK, you can get them from Chiltern Seeds. In the US, you can definitely get them from Johnny's Seeds. There may be other suppliers, of course, so do check that out. I think that's where I got mine from. And I was able to collect the seeds again, like the verbascum. Once you've got that one stock, and then you let them go to seed. I've just had them ever since, and it was my own seeds that I grew my autumn overwintering plants from. So, and by the way, I am going to start selling my seeds. I just want to trial them for a year. So I've been trialing my sweet peas for 2 years now, and then my verbascums, Saponaria, I definitely know they worked. What else have I got? Foxgloves. Anyway, I'll let you know as I go, but I will be doing my own seeds soon. Anyhow, verbascums, yes, I have those. Yeah, so Saponaria, definitely recommend them. You can harvest your own seeds once you've got your first crop. You can do them the easy beginner style in the winter sowing method, so you don't have to worry about the frosts and all the care and everything. You can keep them to one side until they are strong enough to go out, big enough and strong enough to go out. I didn't even transplant them. I left them in the bottle till they were quite big and bushy, and then I just transplanted them straight into the border and made a mark so I knew where they were, and then let them do their thing. And as I say, because there was a while before they really took off, once I'd planted them in the border, I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to be awful. They're sort of so stringy. But as I say, they just started to branch out, and before I knew it, I had all these beautiful pink jewels in the garden, and it was absolutely wonderful. So Saponaria, you can start it now in January, the winter sowing method. And as I say, once you get these to flower and let them go to seed, you'll be able to harvest that seed, and you'll be able to grow them every year. You can also succession sow them in the autumn and then again in the spring. So you could potentially keep them going right the way through summer. Anyhow, thanks for watching. See you again in my next video. Bye.